All right, comedy fans. So, one of my favorite channels to watch is Comedy Hype on YouTube, and their channel has blown up tremendously within the past year and some change. There was a time when I remember this channel had more subscribers than Comedy Hype. No lie. And they just took off. It wouldn't surprise me if they hit 1 million subscribers within the next probably less than a year, but I just love that that platform. I think that Vlad TV was the one I went to the most because it was really like the only interview YouTube channel I really followed when Comedy Hype came about. But they talked about a topic recently that has been coming up a lot, and it's in regards to comedy verses. I think that one of the first times it really got viral traction was when Damon Wayans was in a interview and he mentioned going up against Dave Chappelle. And now a lot of people want to see, Katt Williams and Kevin Hart do it. But my thing is, like, what exactly would a comedy versus look like? With music, it's understandable. It's like, hit for hit, track for track. But comedy, it's like, as soon as I hear comedian versus, I instantly think about Wild 'N Out in terms of like current day mainstream methods of comedians going at each other. But I don't see it really working in the same way a versus would, the ones that we're used to over the past year with music. And when I think about it, I know it's easy to say which comedian is better. I know the masses will say Katt Williams, and I'm not really here to throw my hat in the ring to say which one I prefer, but I will say that I don't think Kevin Hart needs to do it, because when you think about verses, it's really more about, someone with something to prove. And even though I'm not that big a fan, or I haven't been a big fan of like the last 2 to 3 Kevin Hart specials, the one he released on, No F's Given. I did not really care for that one. What Now? Basically, I think he's done 3 specials after Let Me Explain. I don't think I've been big on any of those specials, but I respect Kevin Hart's grind, as well as the different genres he's been tackling in movies. Like, he isn't always portrayed as like the short, annoying, loud black guy like he has been, Ride Along, Central Intelligence, and things like that. I mean, I love those movies, but Kevin Hart is just a stereotype, that one trick pony. And I'm not hating on him for it, because, do what you gotta do to get that bag. But I just appreciate that it looks like he's evolving by taking on different roles. So when I think about Kevin Hart now, I don't think that there's a necessity for him to get into a versus with Katt Williams. That's just my opinion. Now, in terms of, Katt Williams, I wasn't really big on his last Netflix special, or his first Netflix special? It was something like Great America or Make It Great. I forgot the title of it, but I just knew I wasn't crazy about it. Like the first 20 or something minutes, he just kept going on about Florida or wherever the special took place. And I'm like, he usually only does that for like 2 or 3 minutes. He'll talk about the place that he's in right now, and then he'll go on with like a bunch of jokes. But for some reason, it felt like Katt was a car that needed to be warmed up in the wintertime. It takes a little while for it to warm up and start running again. But the back half of that special, that's where it felt like, yep, okay, there we go. That's the Katt Williams I like. That's the Katt Williams I know. I think that the verses in comedy really would only work for comedians that, need that kind of outlet to be, I don't want to say relevant, but I want to say get noticed by the masses. I think there was a show back in the day called Snaps, and I know that the only thing people remember from that show was Tracy Morgan and Monique doing a Yo Mama battle, and that's when she had like the white powder in her hand, I think, and that's really the only thing that has stood the test of time since that show actually aired. And I don't believe it was on the air for that long. I know that it only had like a couple episodes and that was it, but that and Wildin' Out are like the only two platforms that I could think of where comedians really went at it like that. So what would a comedy versus look like? Would Kat and Kevin go back and forth on each other? I don't think that would be a good, versus. Like, I'm sure Kat would rip into Kevin, but I just don't see how that would be funny. I mean, if you look at Kevin Hart whenever he's trending, or let's say Cat Williams when he does an interview and says something, what could be said on stage by these two comics that hasn't already been said on Black Twitter? I think I trust and believe, I'm pretty sure, if Kevin or Kat said something, it would be way funnier than reading it in a tweet form. But I just don't think that, okay, let's say Kat and Kevin do it, then what? Like that, they're really the only comedians that people talk about in terms of verses. Like when Damon Wayans said him and Dave Chappelle should do it, what would that look like? Would it be them showcasing some of their best bits, or would they just tell Damon goes up there and does a set, and then Dave comes up and does a set, and then like which one is funnier? I just don't see it working. That's just my opinion. Like, I'm sure they sat down and mapped it out. They'll probably figure out, what would do it and what wouldn't. But I don't know. It just seems like when you look at the musical verses, it's all about looking through the catalogs and libraries of the artists. But when you're a comic, is it coming up with new content for the verses? Or are we picking some of the greatest hits from their specials? I don't know. But let me know what you think. I just think the Kat and Kevin beef is really, outdated at this point, because as far as I can tell, the last time I recall Kevin Hart addressing it was when him and Tiffany Haddish were on the Breakfast Club. And at this point, like I said before, Kevin is just in a different lane. I think he's focusing more so on other things in stand-up comedy, taking on more serious, dramatic movie roles, and he's working on his app and, more so about giving opportunities, whereas Cat Williams just seems bitter. And I love Cat, but I just feel like that's where a lot of his, anger kind of stems from, or whenever he's talking about other comedians like, Kevin Hart and whatnot. I don't think it will be for me. Would I watch it? Hell yeah. But it just doesn't seem like the thing I'm looking for when I think of Cat Williams and Kevin Hart. They're both winning. They're just going about it in different ways. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you want to see a Cat and Kevin versus in comedy? I think them on Wildin' Out would be great. Now, I mean, to me personally, I would love that. Make it like an hour-long special. But yeah, that's really all I got for this particular video. And talk to you all in the next one.